The medical pod hissed open, and Ron's eyes flickered beneath heavy lids. His body felt like it had been reassembled from spare parts, each nerve ending screaming its own personal anthem of pain. The sterile white ceiling above him was unfamiliar, marked with strange geometric patterns that seemed to pulse with bioluminescent light. "You promised you'd wake up." The voice was small, trembling, and unmistakably alien. Ron's vision swam into focus, and there she was, Lyra, the Zendari child he'd shielded from the plasma barrage. Her skin still held that opalescent shimmer, shifting between lavender and silver in the artificial light. Her 3 eyes blinked in sequence, the third one on her forehead glistening with what could only be tears. "Lyra." Ron's voice came out as gravel. His throat felt like he'd swallowed broken glass. "You said you'd wake up," she repeated, her small 3-fingered hand gripping the edge of his medical pod. "You said humans don't break promises." Memory crashed back like a tidal wave. The Krix invasion of Refuge Station, the civilian sector ablaze, children screaming. He'd been on shore leave, of all the damn things. No armor, no squad. Just his sidearm and 2 decades of Marine Corps training. When the blast doors failed, he'd grabbed the nearest kid and ran. Except Lyra had frozen. She'd stood there in the corridor, staring at the advancing Krix shock troopers with those 3 wide eyes. And Ron had made a choice. He'd covered her with his body. "How long?" he managed to ask. 17 cycles, said another voice. Ron turned his head slowly, because apparently his neck was held together with medical staples, and hoped to see an adult Zendari standing nearby. The resemblance was unmistakable. Same facial structure, same elegant crest rising from her skull. But where Lyra was small and delicate, this woman carried herself with authority. 17. Ron did the math. "That's almost 6 weeks. Your species' regeneration is remarkable," the woman said. Her translator rendered her words in crisp, accented standard. "I am Ruth, Lyra's mother and High Coordinator of Refuge Station, or what remains of it." Ron tried to sit up. Every muscle in his torso filed a formal complaint. "The station survived, thanks to you." Ruth moved closer, her movements carrying that characteristic Zendari grace. When the Krix saw a human soldier covering a child with his own body, taking direct plasma hits meant for her, they hesitated. "Long enough for our defense grid to come back online, long enough for your carrier group to arrive." "He kept talking to me," Lyra interrupted, her voice stronger now. "Even when the bad things were shooting him. He told me about Earth, about oceans and dogs and something called pizza." Ron felt something crack in his chest that had nothing to do with his injuries. He remembered now, remembered forcing himself to stay conscious, to keep talking, because if he stopped, Lyra would know how bad it was. Would know she was trapped under a dying man. "I remember," he whispered. "You made her promise something too," Ruth said, and now her voice held an odd note. "Before you lost consciousness." Ron searched his fractured memories. The pain had been white-hot. His back had felt like it was melting. "But yes, there had been something. I made her promise to stay brave," he said slowly. "To not let this make her afraid of the universe." "She kept that promise," Ruth said. "Every day you were in the regeneration pod, she came here. She told you about her day, about the rebuilding, about the friends she was making among the human relief workers. She kept her promise to be brave." Lyra nodded vigorously, her crest bobbing. "And you kept yours. You woke up." Ron felt his eyes burning. 6 weeks. This kid had visited him every day for 6 weeks, talking to his unconscious body, because he'd asked her to be brave. "The Galactic Council wants to speak with you," Ruth continued. "What you did has caused ripples. Humans were already known as fierce warriors, but warriors who protect enemy civilians, who sacrifice themselves for alien children they've never met. This is new. We're not enemies," Ron said roughly. "Never were. The Zendari know that now." Ruth's hand touched her chest in what he'd learned was their gesture of deep respect. "The Council is proposing a formal alliance. Our technology, your courage, our wisdom, your adaptability. Together we could." "Can I have pizza now?" Lyra interrupted. "You said when you woke up we could have pizza together. You promised." Ron looked at the child, this alien girl who'd sat vigil by his bedside for 42 days, who'd kept being brave because a broken soldier had asked her to, who still remembered his delirious ramblings about food she'd never tasted. He started to laugh, then immediately regretted it as his ribs screamed in protest. "Yeah, kid," he managed. "I promised, and humans don't break promises." Ruth's 3 eyes softened, and she made a sound that might have been the Zendari equivalent of a chuckle. "I'll arrange it. Though I should warn you, the human relief workers have been introducing our people to Earth cuisine. There are now 3 pizza establishments on the station. 3. Ron raised an eyebrow. Your people are very enthusiastic about sharing their food culture. Lyra climbed onto the edge of the medical pod, careful not to jostle Ron's injuries. Will you tell me more stories? About Earth? About the Marines? Ron looked at her, then at Ruth, then at the strange alien ceiling above him. He thought about the Cricks, about violence and war, about the dozens of battles he'd fought across a dozen worlds. He thought about how easy it would have been to run past one frozen alien child in a burning corridor. He thought about how one moment of choice had apparently changed the course of galactic politics. Yeah, he said softly. I'll tell you stories. Got about 20 years worth. Lyra's 3 eyes lit up with joy, and Ron realized something profound. He'd gone to war to protect humanity. But in the end, humanity had never been the point. It had always been about protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. Regardless of how many eyes they had or what color their blood ran, the universe was vast and strange and often terrifying. But sometimes, it was also kind. Pizza first, though, he added. Always pizza first. Lyra laughed her sound like wind chimes, and for the first time in 6 weeks, Ron felt whole.